It enables societies to advance. But innovations need to be understood and trusted and lift us all. In AI, medical, space, climate, technology unlocks human potential. And rules we design today are as important as the technology we create. It's how business delivers technology safely into our hands, and how countries leverage innovation. This partnership between transformative technology and purposeful policy drives growth, ensures investment, builds better societies, and powers human progress. We make innovation work for the world.
Good afternoon, good morning, everyone. From robotic intelligence, automation, to natural language processing, AI is increasingly embedded into all manners of devices, services, and platforms. The accelerated integration of AI into every facet of society has created a palpable sense of being left behind and FOMO amongst organizations and urgency among governments to adopt and regulate AI. There is an urgency for businesses to understand how ready they truly are to grow and evolve thanks to AI in terms of efficiency, productivity gains, as well as to cultivate sustainable and stakeholder-driven growth. Uh, with the productivity payoff being significant, the workforce around the world also need to prepare themselves for the changes that AI brings with it. To better understand the emerging AI usage trends in the workplace and the skills workers need to have to be successful in future, Access Partnership partnered with AWS, Amazon Web Services, on an in-depth global study on the state and importance of AI skills. It took over feedback from over 10,000 organizations, over 30,000 employees around the world, uh, across 20 different markets. What we found was that most organizations are expected to be AI driven by 2028, with generative AI transforming the way we work. Acquiring AI skills will boost pay across departments as organizations are expecting a productivity payoff from an AI skilled workforce. And finally, even with 93% of employees believing that acquiring AI skills will have a positive impact on their careers, the AI skill gap is still critical. To discuss how we can accelerate AI skills for the future of work, I have with me Emmanuel P today. Emmanuel is the head of AWS training and certification for ASEAN and leads the delivery and scaling of cloud skilling programs at AWS across the ASEAN region, helping organizations build a resilient workforce through cloud technology training and individual upskilling. Emmanuel?
Yeah, Abhineet, thanks for having me. As you mentioned, my name is Emmanuel. I lead our training and certification and education business for AWS. I'm based in Singapore, cover the ASEAN region. And what my team and I do and what we are really, really passionate about is upskilling individuals, teams, organizations with the requisite skills needed so that they can leverage AWS cloud to innovate in a digital world. And also really now increasingly in AI and a Gen AI world. We do this so that learners of all backgrounds, all the way from learners with no tech background to those who are AI ML practitioners, can build with confidence, but also that leaders can drive transformation in their organization. And we'll talk a lot about transformation today. And over the last few years, myself, my team, we work with organizations across different industries, but also various sizes. And some of the questions we get from them are, how do I skill up? Where do I start? How do I go about upskilling my teams, myself? And so through that process, we've been able to come up with both a large data set, but also really good research around how to empower adult learning, but also youngsters learning. And we'll hopefully share some of that information here with you today.
Thanks, Manuel. We released it obviously earlier this year, and AWS has always been a champion for digital skills, including for AI. And you have launched a free AI training course as well. So maybe that's where we start. My first question, I think you just talked about, is why did AWS decide to launch a free AI training course? And what impact do you hope it will have on the workforce in the APAC region?
So first, I want to start over what's happened over the last year and a half, which is there's been a lot of momentum around generative AI or Gen AI across the Asia Pacific region. And really, we've not seen this level of excitement since the early days of cloud. Fast forward now, and Gen AI has become a reality for business leaders and will continue to play a transformative role in nearly every industry and also organizations of every size. And that's what we are seeing across the Asia Pacific region. Along with that, what we are also seeing is that Gen AI is ushering in new skill sets. It's very similar to how the internet and cloud computing changed the way that people work. And it's not just your technical stuff. It's sometimes it may begin with the IT team, but it needs to and will spread across and beyond the IT team to every part of the organization. So employers to workers, everyone needs to sort of understand how this technology can improve their jobs, improve productivity, and also more importantly, to drive innovations. So that also at the same time has triggered a demand for AI talent. And there, as the study clearly pointed out, there is a pretty large gap between supply as well between demand and supply. And so the urgency to upskill in this technology is immediate. So with that, over the last year, as part of our commitment to continue to provide free AI training, we've trained 2 million people globally, and we'll get to that point by 2025. And we've also launched a collection of free and low-cost trainings because for us, we believe democratizing the skill set is important both for the individual, but also for communities as well as organizations. And so we want to empower both non-technical as well as technical learners as well as business decision makers to empower themselves with this technology and also then drive transformation within their organizations.
I think that's an interesting point because one of the findings from the study was that non-tech workers will actually be using as much AI in their jobs in the next 5 years as tech specialists are using today. So that's an interesting point. But maybe I'll move on to the other aspect. What we found from the study was the demand supply gap that you talked about. Almost 80% of employers said they are prioritizing hiring AI talent, but three-fourths of them, 75% of them, mentioned that they are finding it challenging to find the right candidates. In your experience, what are the strategies that businesses can employ to bridge this skills gap effectively?
So it's a great question, and that's the question that comes up even with many of our discussions with our customers and our partners. And the first part of this, I'd say, is that business. It's time to really move beyond business as usual because we have to create the conditions for success, where skills can be acquired in short durations of time. So that could be within a few hours, and also there's micro credentialing. The first part of this is that, firstly, for organizations, continuous learning should be one of your core values. It's a very simple, straightforward statement, but very hard in terms of execution. And that's why, again, my team and I exist, because the execution part of that is where many organizations kind of falter or kind of don't know where to start at. So if your top value is not to, if it's not one of your top values of, if continuous learning is not one of the top values of an organization in this current environment where things are changing very fast. And what we're seeing with this technology is that there's a requirement for learning, unlearning, and relearning. It's going to be really hard for an organization to adapt and keep pace with the technological changes. The second part of this, and by the way, one other thing about prioritizing continuous learning is that it usually requires an executive sponsor with both the technical, sometimes the technical expertise, but definitely the political expertise within the organization to drive this level of continuous learning as a key priority and a core value. The second part of this is that organizations have to prioritize AI training by providing access to online courses and workshops and certifications to empower workers so that they can acquire this relevant skill sets. There are specific industries, let's say, for example, banking and FSI or telco industry, where when we survey workers there, the biggest challenge for upskilling is not lack of resources, but lack of time. So if there's no on-the-job training or access to skilling workshops or skilling programs, they will find it very hard to upskill on their own time. So that's the other component of this. But finally, there's also a worker component. If you're an individual, they also have to proactively kickstart self-directed learning. And so the good news is there's lots of online AI courses as well as mentorship programs that provide these opportunities for workers to pick up AI skills and stay competitive in the job market. So for example, through our global initiatives, We've gained really valuable insights into the content and learning approaches that really resonate with learners and learners of different age groups, as well as learners of different profile and backgrounds. So for those, for example, who are looking to develop their careers, they can look at role-based courses. So if you one is an AI practitioner, let's say, we have solutions architect learning pathways or developer pathways or data analytics pathways for those who are practitioners. For those who want to just get a foundational learning, we provide sort of foundational core training as well. So I think that's the other component at the individual level that's required at this point. And then finally, just getting hands-on with the technology. And for example, at AWS, we offer something called AWS SimuLearn, which is powered by our Bedrock, which is by AWS Bedrock, which is a fully managed service, an AI ML service, which allows users just have fun with the product and have fun with the service to sort of just build applications that are AI ML powered.
And that's an interesting point, because what we found also in the study was Gen Z who are just starting into the workforce, and even baby boomers who are closer to the retirement. Everybody's interested in acquiring AI skills. And the second point, which I think is also critical, is that employers are also going to hire more based on skills rather than degrees, and that's an interesting point here as well. The other aspect which I wanted to maybe talk about is, with AI, one of the key concerns companies have is to accentuate existing inequities, and also to avoid creating new inequities, right? And with that in mind, one of the interesting finding to me was that there's significant interest among female workers in Asia Pacific region to upskill. They're obviously more interested in acquiring AI skills amongst female workers in Asia as compared to maybe US or UK in the study. How do you think the organizations can leverage this interest to foster a more inclusive AI workforce?
I'd say to begin with, this is an area that myself, our team is really, really passionate about. So I'm going to take a little bit more time to kind of share some of the programs and also our approaches here. The first part of this at AWS, we do believe the future of tech is inclusive and diverse and needs to be equitable across every color, gender, origin, and ability, and across communities as well. And the reason for that is multifold. For example, one of those is that diverse teams just help us think bigger and build products for our customers that are several notches higher and better than it would be without diverse teams. And so this research is really deeply encouraging for us, because employers should also look at how they can prioritize AI training for their female employees as well. So at our company and with our partners and our customers, one of our priorities is to just really build a diverse talent pool through both custom programs, but programs that are also supported by government and industry. This is not a solution that can be run by just one private enterprise in any market. And so again, we do this through partnership with our government, through educational institutions, whether that's schools and colleges or universities or other academy programs, also with industry groups, and also through bespoke programs that really help excuse me, excuse me, individuals from different walks of life to really gain firsthand practical cloud skills and Gen AI skills. So I'll give you a couple of examples. Our program, AWS Hapori Waine, is a community-based program in New Zealand and is designed specifically for Kiwi women who want to build in-demand cloud skills and also just build a network of digitally savvy professionals. In India, we have a program called Aspire for Her. It's a local inclusion and diversity program and startup that offers just free and online training that aims to inspire women to consider a career in cloud computing. We also have AWS Girls Tech Day, which is another program that we run that aims to really educate and inspire and empower young girls and young women. And the age group we target is about ages 8 to 24 to really pursue careers in technology. So in Australia, for example, AWS in Community, it's all hosted a Girls Tech Day event in Sydney, where nearly 800 girls were inspired by potential education and career opportunities by AWS across about 25 STEM organizations. So we are really committed to doing our part to ensure our technology is developed in a way that's inclusive and diverse and equitable. But we can't do this alone. We do want to partner with local government agencies and institutions that I just mentioned above.
And that's very promising, because we definitely need to empower more women, not only by skilling them, but also to have a bigger say in how the policies are defined, AI policies are defined, so that in future, hopefully it doesn't take two men to talk about women empowerment in AI. There are actually a lot more say in the work for in this field as well. The employers told us, the companies told us that they expect they expect a productivity boost because of AI. One of the things they are looking at is reducing, for example, manual tasks or repetitive tasks, and they see that this productivity can be over 50% because of adoption of AI. And this is across the key roles, across the departments, across functions within the organizations. What skills do you think will be crucial for organizations to develop and for employees to focus on?
So again, a very common and persistent question across our customers, our partners, and also some of the institutions that we work with. So our approach to training our customers is based on three broad personas. And these are personas who will touch the technology in some form or shape or the other, but it's not all of them will interact with the technology the same way. So let's talk about the first individuals and those are ones who will just interact or use Gen AI applications, whether that's a chat bot or just in their day-to-day activities. Those kind of personas will require just foundational basic training in AI. And the example would be a generic purpose chatbot does not have niche data sets being trained on it. So if you're somebody working in a very niche application, using a general purpose chatbot might actually give you erroneous information, or you may not be able to differentiate between hallucinations and such. And so in those kind of situations, just foundational training on how a chatbot operates, how a data set is being trained, what data sets are used. Those are just foundational training, and that's that first kind of persona. The second group is individuals who are also non-tech, but who leverage the technology for productivity in their own specific industry or profession. An example would be doctors who use AI tools to automate patient discharge summaries, note taking, and so on. And these individuals would really require industry specific and tool specific training. And again, there we are developing such content for the healthcare sector, and I've done some work with healthcare sector agencies in this part in Asia Pacific. And then there's the builders, and these are the AI practitioners, whether that's developers or data scientists or machine learning specialists, who are really going to use either the code writing tools like Amazon Code Whisperer that improves productivity for developers, or just build applications for end customers using, and ensuring that there's high security, privacy, and responsible AI built in. So these kind of builders will require in-depth and specialized training in Gen AI, all the way from understanding the large language models out there, how to leverage the large language models, and also the three stacks that we often talk about in Gen AI and how the technology operates. Finally, if you put all these things together, we also need businesses that will empower the employees to pursue AI skills training, and then sort of customizing and catering and dealing and providing them learning pathways that meet their persona, but also meet their career aspirations. And so we are building training content to meet those three personas. And one of the ways that I would encourage your listeners or those who are interested in this is to identify yourself into one of those three groups. And from there on, you're able to look and seek out content that's already available out there and to begin your skilling journey.
And obviously this is something which is very, very important, because one of the things we found from the study also is when you talk to organizations as to what skills will actually benefit them the most, it's not the technical or hardcore engineering skills which comes out on top. They talk about critical thinking, creative problem solving, understanding of ethics and frameworks, which will be equally important, if not more important, for most of the organizations, because that's a small pool of people who will need to have that hardcore AI skills, which are required from an engineering perspective. Which brings me to the next point. I think 92% of the companies or organizations we talked to mentioned they want to be AI driven by 2028. But as businesses prepare to become more AI driven, what do you think should be their considerations for responsible AI use, particularly in developing their skilling programs? Because that was one big gap companies identified, that they currently the biggest issue they don't have in skilling programs is because they don't know how to actually even develop skilling programs.
Right. Yep. And once again, the study really matches what we see anecdotally as well in terms of our conversations with our customers and partners. So let's start with the first thing, which is that realizing the full potential of AI is not possible without a solid foundation. And so we believe responsibility and innovation must go hand in hand. If you're really, if for us to be able to build AI solutions that are trustworthy, and then for customers will not use these tools if they don't believe they can trust those tools. So we take a people-centric approach to responsible AI. So first, our approach starts with education, and then really doing our part to build the next generation of developers, data scientists, and AI. So that's why we offer programs like the AI ML scholarship program, the AI Ready commitment, to ensure that we train 2 million individuals globally by 2025, and also provide this training where there is a free bias mitigation and fairness course from from AWS, which is called AWS Machine Learning University. And so these are programs that offer, a number of hours, all the way sometimes up to 9 hours of lectures and exercises that really delve into this topic. And this topic is not a straightforward, simple topic. We also believe like responsible AI is not the work that can be done in a silo. Going back to this previous, the transformation changes that we are seeing requires partnerships between private and public institutions. So it's truly a multidisciplinary effort, and that requires both technology companies, policymakers, community groups, scientists, and others to really come together to tackle these new challenges as and when they arise. And so we do have a deep engagement with the multi-stake organizations like a Global Partnership on AI, which is GPAI. And this partnership on AI, and as well as Responsible AI Institute, as well as the National Artificial Intelligence Advisory Committee. So all of this where AWS is just working alongside others to share best practices, accelerate research, and also develop AI and ML technology responsibly. So that's one part of it. Our investment also goes into being in safe and transparent and responsible Gen AI, also includes collaboration with global community and policymakers. And so, for example, we've encouraged and supported the White House, the US White House, voluntary AI commitments, as well as the AI Safety Summit in the UK. So again, this is a work in progress. This technology is evolving and progressing at a rapid pace. So we will continue to keep pace with this and ensure that we are providing and doing our part to develop AI responsibly.
And that's important. As I said, obviously in the region we are, ASEAN has a guide on AI governance and ethics. But even within Access Partnership, we do have a lot of work which we have done on responsible AI. We have something we call Responsible AI Readiness Index, which is a free diagnostic for policymakers, for organizations to actually see how their deployment and development of AI within their organizations or within their countries is heading in the right direction, and to compare and benchmark themselves against others. So if you are interested, obviously people can go and look at the website for that. But those are like some very, very interesting aspects for development of responsible AI. But one of the key things would be maybe leave no one behind, as we talked about, whether it's women, whether it's minorities, whether it's people with disabilities, for example. So everybody should be. So my dream would be if everybody who has a device in their hand is AI literate as well. So that would be something which would be very, very critical. I do have one more question, unless people have more comments here on the chat. One question which I wanted to maybe talk to you about is the pay rise aspect, which people did talk about, that there is a potential. And obviously it's linked to the fact that organizations expect productivity to grow, which obviously some of that gets translated into the expected pay boost, which people are talking about. How do you see that situation in terms of, do you see that across the board? Because organizations are telling us that this is going to be across departments, across functions, and AI skilled worker will be always more suited, well paid off as compared to a similar role, but a non-AI skilled worker. Are you seeing something similar in your interactions?
So I'll respond to that from two angles. So if you're an individual learner or a builder or an AI ML practitioner, there's definitely demand for that skill set. And going back to the findings of the study, where there is a large gap and a looming gap between demand and supply, means naturally there is a wage increase or a premium that workers can command if they have those requisite skills, specifically around if you're an AI ML practitioner. And so we do see those trends at the moment. So at an individual level, if you are not yet an AI ML practitioner, I would certainly say that this is a skill set that you want to acquire. And the good news is there's plenty of content, as well as education and content providers, including AWS, who can provide you the tools and the content necessary to upskill. However, if you're an employer, the news is a little bit more mixed. There are certain industries which will just naturally be able to pay those premiums in compensation, and there are certain organizations, either based on size or based on industry, where that's not possible. And so, for those kind of organizations, and particularly those business leaders within those organizations, my advice would be to start upskilling your existing workforce. And there are multiple advantages to that. The first, of course, is that your existing workforce has operational knowledge, has cultural knowledge, and in highly regulated environments like, let's say, banking or healthcare, they have industry-specific knowledge, which is not something that can be gathered or taught over a short periods of time. The second is also a retention tool. Workers want to ensure, and I think the study pointed to that information as well. Workers are very interested to look for employers who will invest in their upskilling and skilling programs. And so that's another way that you are able that an employer can retain. And finally, I would say again, when I talk to employers across in Asia Pacific, in particular in ASEAN, let not the gap and what's happening, the transformation occurring around you, slow you down from taking some small steps. And usually the question is, where do I start? And one of those ways is, again, access the free content. Think about continuous learning within your organization. Speak to us at AWS. We help organizations of different sizes to at least start small, but move fast but think big. And so that's how I would describe the current scenario.
I think that's a lovely message, because people do get bogged down based on what's happening around them in terms of the transformation which AI is bringing in. So I think keeping that in mind, that just take one small step, that's where you can always start. Final question for me maybe would be in terms of a final message you have for organizations, and maybe one message for the individuals who want to upskill using AI.
Sure. And this is, I would say, this is our mission within the training and certification and education team within AWS, which is we really believe cloud skills training, because Gen AI is really a cloud-enabled technology. And certifications really has the power to transform organizations regardless of size, regardless of industry, and also change people's careers and lives, which then has subsequent impact on their community and society. So we are really passionate about helping organizations across this part of the world to really upskill their workforce and to really capture the full value of AI and ML and Gen AI. And so in this current environment, I would say, once again, not to be daunted by what's ahead, what's around, but look within your own organization and start something quickly. The good news is there is help there from either AWS or just content out there that's available. But kick that off, and then you will learn along the way. The process is going to be learn, unlearn, and relearn. And so as long as you are committed to a culture of learning and continuous learning at the organizational level, as well as the individual level, I think you're set for a really promising future.
Thanks, Emmanuel. The key message to me is that the tools are available, the technology is available. It's an issue of mindset. As long as the mindset and culture go along with the tools and technology, this would be a great journey for all the companies. Thanks a lot for your time, and I would like to thank all of our participants today. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me on, Abhineet. It's a pleasure.